There's actually quite a lot of interesting stories on the front cover of The Telegraph. I think I might take a whip round some of the small ones. Lots of good news. So, bullying of women normalised in Navy. 1 in 50 Albanians in the UK are in prison. OK, maybe not great news. Sworn down how the F word lost its bite. You meant to say queer, I guess. And then, Josh, story for you. White guys in your 50s, you don't matter.
That's a little bit...
in your 50s?
48.
Thank you so much. And I really
you look 47, Josh.
Thank you. I haven't dyed my beard now for a couple of weeks. Been a bit busy.
Yeah.
But I will re-dye my beard and then I will go back to 43.
I think you look youthful and spry.
And what are you guys? 31s, 30?
Yeah, let's just stick with that.
Yeah, why not?
Whatever it is.
Yeah,
None of you have kids, right?
Old enough.
No,
well, that's why you're...
Not in this country,
Wait till that will add the 10 years. So what are the big stories?
The big story in The Telegraph, foreign aid cut sparks cabinet rebellion. I read it in a weird way. OK, so if we get the cover up. Rachel Reeves' plan to cut almost $2 billion from the foreign aid budget has sparked quite a lot of cabinet backlash. So I think there's been some controversy here, and David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, is among one of the ministers who is not happy about this, about the cuts to foreign aid. But I think what this story ties into is now it's up when I'm not looking down, is the general anxieties that are surrounding the upcoming budget. And I think there's a lot of stress about what's going to be cut, and I think all tax hikes. And this is just another one of those where it's caused quite a bit of a disagreement within the Labour Party.
Yes, so, I mean, Adam, first of all, Labour come in, one of the first things they do is that they are going to cut, they're going to make pensioners... So, arguably some people say freeze to death. And now, not only content with that, now they're going to make African pensioners freeze to death.
Yeah. I mean, I don't...
Is there no end to their devilry?
I think some of the countries in Africa have a slightly different climate to ours. I think.
What if they said
No. I remember feed them at Mount Kilimanjaro, whatever. Like it snowed. Don't they know it's snowing? And then it was snowing.
Don't they know it's Christmas?
Yeah.
Which is all part of the Christian push. No, I think, I think the honeymoon period is definitely over for the Labour Party.
Locking up people for free speech.
Yes. I think everyone's looking at is... I think we were back in the same position we were a few months ago, where everybody hated the government and everyone's now just like, they want to...
Now, I'm going to disagree with both of your political insight here. I would say there are a lot of people out there who are actually very supportive of this. A lot of people you see a lot of time on social media say, why are we spending billions we can't even feed our own, or why instead of giving it to the pensioners, why are we sending and it's only $2 billion they're cutting out of however many other billions. So it's going to be the lowest it's been for 17 years. Yeah. That doesn't mean that money isn't still being spent. And there's an argument, of course, morally to spend that money, but also the prevention, or by bringing up other societies or cultures around the world, the argument is that they'd be less inclined to want to come to the UK.
So it's protecting the economic interests of the UK by spending outside.
That's the idea behind it, but... and having soft power and various other reasons. There are legitimate reasons to do it, but at the same time, there have been a lot of people who say, this is British people's taxpayers' money, and we are suffering here. There are people in this country who need that money more, arguably. So I think that surely that would play.
Yeah, I mean, if it's spent on the British people, they should let people know, because that's an easy win, But I don't think I think they're just cutting it, and they're not really saying where it's going to go. And I think people are very sceptical, myself included, of. Are we going to see an inherent boost? Is that going to be reinvested in our education systems or the NHS or something given to the pensioners? I don't think it will be. So I think that's where people are getting disillusioned by.
Before we do move on to the next paper, I do want to just go back to one of the stories you mentioned, Jonathan. This 1 in 50 Albanians in the UK are in prison.
Yes.
Is interesting because it's I believe the first time there's ever been the first league of criminality due to nationality. And I know that there have been certain people who I've seen on this channel who have been campaigning. I think Robert Jenrick is one of those people, who are talking about how we have to get to grips with the data to understand who are committing crimes. And it's only and that data has been sort of withheld even with Freedom of Information Act. And this seems to be the first time that some of this stuff is now cut.
I actually prefer feelings over facts. If that's okay.
Okay, I get that vibe about you. What do you think about this? Is this a step in the right direction?
I mean, I think transparency of any form is always a step in the right direction. I think,
No, statistics are racist.
We've got the trans stuff coming up in the next section.
Yeah, so I think transparency. I think any sort of new data that comes out, this one is about Albanians, but it would be good to maybe get a percentage or some numbers on what the breakdown of everyone in prison is.
And different crimes that are committed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so only with data can you actually maybe start to solve some issues. Yeah. Right, Sun now, Jonathan, and did Bibi bug Boris's bog? I'll say that 100 times. Did Bibi bug Boris's bog? Okay, go.
Did Bibi bug Boris's...
Bibi, Bobby, bog. Okay.
Right. Listening device discovered in Boris Johnson's toilet just days after it was used by Benjamin Netanyahu. So in his new memoir...
That's a big poo.
Say again.
That's a big poo.
It is. It's something he's swallowed. So in his new memoir, Unleashed, Bojo writes that...
Is that what it was all about, literally?
Unleashing.
This big poo?
Yeah, it's all about his toilet adventures. Boris on the bog. So apparently, this is 2017. Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu came...
Mr. now, is it for you? Now suddenly you respect him after his activities with Hezbollah.
Exactly.
Before you were very derogatory, and now it's Mr. Netanyahu.
I was always more of a Netin Google man. No, stupid. But quite clever. And basically, Boris Johnson had his toilet, which was he called it the Thunderbox, apparently, which is a great name for a toilet. And a few days after he left, his agents did a sweep for bugs and found one.
Yeah.
Could have been him. I don't know.
We don't know.
No state secret is worth learning if you have to listen to Boris Johnson on the toilet.
Well, this is it, Adam. Why are you bugging a toilet? Like, what are you hoping to hear? You're hoping that someone's going to do some drugs in there.
Yeah.
You're hoping there's going to be some sexual activity, or there's just a lot of straining.
It's going to be a lot.
For me, it's crying. That's what I got to cry.
It's going to be
toilet.
It's not a good place. I just like the idea that Benjamin Netanyahu is putting these things in himself. He's just tinkering around.
It probably has nothing to do with...
He hasn't got a guy for that. He's just doing it himself.
And also, it's probably got nothing to do with Mossad. This might just be a private hobby of his.
Yeah, or none of it really happened. It's just a good little promo for his new book that's coming out next week.
Which one? No, hey, come on, no, I'm sure. There's no evidence there.
No, there's no evidence. Also, just the one. I mean, Japanese toilets have cameras and everything. Why have we got?
I pay for one of those websites.
Yeah. Oh wow. There you go.
More Telegraph, Jonathan. And can someone please give this book festival a dictionary?
Oh no, the dictionary's been banned from book festivals.
Oh yeah, is it too controversial now?
It has,
There's horrible words in it.
It tries to define woman, actually.
Yes.
Oh well, same joke. So, Cheltenham Literature Festival compares gender-critical views with racism and homophobia, all things Adam's saying he's a big fan of. So,
absolutely.
So the festival, which actually begins today, can't believe I missed that, they sent an email to everybody hosting talks at the event, asking them to follow new guidance in order to protect both themselves and the festival from complaints. So it says, if during any of your events there are any speakers who share an opinion that could be deemed controversial, you need to reinforce the fact that this is the speaker's opinion and does not belong to the festival itself. And they've also sent out an email with a bunch of things that speakers shouldn't be talking about. So it includes gender-critical views, misogyny, extreme political views, including those on migration, sexuality, etc., etc. So,
I feel this.
That's why we're here.
We're not going to be invited. I feel like to the Cheltenham Book Festival.
I mean, but we write a book.
In all seriousness, this surely and gender-critical people, Adam, have got very offended by this comparison. It's stating biological reality, which is a protected belief in this country now. To compare that to being racist or misogynist or homophobic or whatever is a disgusting comparison, right?
Yeah, it is. And the book nerds need to sort their stuff out. Really, when I saw that list that Jonathan just mentioned, which is saying you shouldn't mention anything, topics about misogyny, political views, migration, sexuality, gender, military action, race, religion, ethnicity. I was just thinking, does this sound like a student union comedy gig?
Yes.
I just kind of thought, well, this is just an extension. Now they're going for
Kissing's going to be switching about this.
But I guess the thing is, if this is, on a serious note, if this is what they're implementing now, where does this where does this go? Where does this end? Does this mean like something like Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses might be deemed offensive, and like we can't have that because then we're going back as a society to how we were, a few decades ago.
And it's essentially an arts festival preemptively censoring artists, which it just seems a contradiction in terms.
Well, it's also to have this idea that you're going to have an uncontroversial book festival. Surely goes against the idea of the free expression of ideas, and anybody could get offended by anything. That doesn't make it necessarily offensive.
Well, they have like
it's incredibly boring.
They have non-controversial sort of books, and they used to be pop-up or kids' books.
Yes.
Pre-2015.
What about this? And by the way, what about this? You know what it is? It's like it sounds like this is coming from a place of we don't want complaints.
Yeah.
That seems to be the problem now. Is that all these festivals, companies, everybody
scared of the mob,
just don't want a complaint. It's like just get used to complaints, and when people complain, just go, you know what? I agree with you. I don't agree with you. Whatever it is, but everybody's afraid of just getting there are people.
It's the sponsors that are worried about losing. It's the sponsors. It's not the actual. It's not they don't want to get a strongly worded email. They don't want...
Well, then the sponsors need to stand up or whatever. By the way, I'd just like to do a little plug for the Battle of Ideas, which is in London in a couple of weeks. You can go to Battle of Ideas online and buy some tickets. It's a very, very good weekend of controversial discussion and ideas. On to the Times,
Please,
Adam.
no complaints.
Yeah, where we've become a nation of atheists. Ironically, that might save us.
Yeah, so this is the Times. Britain enters its first atheist age as a number of non-believers surge. So I'm actually part of this demographic. I'm an atheist. What's interesting about this is they're sort of saying how, like, the people who are like maybe either religious or they don't pass on their religious beliefs to their children. I think what's really interesting about this statistic and this story is we need to differentiate atheists from agnostics, as Jim Jeffries called them, the wishy-washy agnostics, and these annoying spiritual people. Being an atheist, a true atheist, is very lonely because you think there is absolutely nothing afterwards. You can't think, there's a higher being. And I'm a self-proclaimed lazy atheist or a dumb atheist because I haven't read all the scriptures, so I'm just taking a guess at it. I think
taking a punt.
In terms of actually educated atheists who've read all the religious doctrines and then come to it, there's probably one.
Well, no, there's they call Dawkins here an anti-atheist, which is interesting in terms of informed. But the argument is that they are putting all of those characteristics you said together, the kind of wishy-washiness, putting them all together. And I guess they're talking about people who follow an organised religion. That now, people who don't are the sort of are the majority.
Yeah. Well, they also said that atheists can also be defined as anyone who lives their life as if God does not exist, which is kind of like me and my student loan. I just sort of pretend it's not there, do whatever I want, and just hope for the best.
But with the student loan, it almost definitely does exist, and it will come for you.
But the weird thing is that in Judaism, you can be religious and not really believe in God still.
That's the worst.
The focus is more on carrying out the rituals. Yeah. But I know that seems really weird.
No, but that kind of makes sense. And so, doing the work.
Depends what the ritual is, though. Like, if it's give to charity, great. If it's, don't mix cotton and silk or whatever the thing is, that I do know, then certainly don't do that if you don't believe in a spiritual element to the universe.
Yeah, it's interesting. This also changes the narrative before we move on, that there's been this idea that Christianity is on the decline. There's people out there who are going, oh no, the Muslim birth rate, and looking at that and seeing the increase of that. There's obviously less of a drop-off in Islam. There's arguments because it's more... This is what this article is really about, is passing on your religion. And also, Islam has certain safeguards within it that prevent people leaving, i.e. apostasy, and you could be killed, and depending on your denomination and whatnot. Yeah, exactly. But what this is saying is, there's this argument that Islam's going to take over, or some people say that. This article is not saying that. This is saying actually...
More people are
atheism is going to take over. There's not going to be a religion. That's the majority.
Well, everyone's going to be believing in crystals by the 2020.
Nothing wrong with crystals.
Topaz can heal.